Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Martial Universe Season 7 based on novel. So let's start. The radiant golden shield started to collapse at an astonishing speed due to that grey light beam. That defensive shield, which was able to resist an all-out attack from a 7 Yuan Nirvana stage expert, collapsed just like paper make. At this moment, a panic-stricken expression quickly appeared on Jiang Hao's face. However, since he was able to become one of the 4 senior direct disciples of the Desolate Hall, he was no ordinary individual. In the face of danger, he acted in a decisive fashion. Immediately, he lightning-quick stomped on his crumbling golden shield, before he used that momentum to retreat. Whoosh! The moment Jiang Hao made his sudden explosive retreat, the grey light had already thoroughly smashed a hole through his golden shield. Furthermore, it continued on with an astonishing speed and flew straight towards Jiang Hao. Bang! 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 Jiang Hao's face turned solemn as he quickly retreated. As he continuously waved his sleeves, waves of powerful desolate energy came rushing forth. Following which, he tried to use those energy waves to resist the strange grey light beam that was headed towards him. However, it was obvious that his attempt at resistance was futile. Although the grey light beam was not frightening to look at, the corrosive strength that it contained was at quite a terrifying level. Therefore, those desolate energy shockwaves that were sent out by Jiang Hao did not hinder the grey light beam at all. At this moment, the entire stadium was thoroughly rifled up. Countless numbers of disciples, who were initially seated, all stood up suddenly. All of them wore dumbfounded looks as they stared at Jiang Hao, who was now extremely distressed. In that second, each and every one of them had a look of disbelief on their faces. The situation had turned around too quickly. Originally, they assumed that the fight would end the moment Jiang Hao executed his Great Star Majestic Fist. However, none of them expected that not only was Lin Dong able to handle such a fearsome attack, he even managed to force Jiang Hao into such a sorry state. An uproar spread throughout the entire mountain peak, and even Pang Tong, Fang Yun and Song Ju gawked at this scene. The three of them shot a look at each other, and they could all see the shock that was present in each other's eyes. Swish! At this very moment, Jiang Hao could not be bothered about the uproar that was happening on the mountain peak. His attention was completely focused on the grey light beam that was tailing him just like a maggot in his bone. A thick feeling of danger rose within him, causing all the hair on his body to involuntarily stand. It has caught up. Jiang Hao's pupils suddenly contracted. The grey light beam pierced through the void like lighting, and had actually already arrived in front of him. I don't believe that I can't block you. After retreating in such a distressed manner, Jiang Hao's anger had finally shot through the roof. Straightening his head, boundless Yuan power erupted crazily from his body, before he launched a palm attack. However, as Jiang Hao was about to completely unleash all the Yuan power within his palm, an old figure strangely appeared in front of him. With a wave of his sleeve, a gentle draft appeared and swept Jiang Hao away. At the same time, he flipped his palm again, before endless Yuan power surged forth, and formed a giant Yuan power vortex in front of him. The vortex spun around crazily as the Yuan power within it continued to grow endlessly. Kai! The grey light beam rushed into the Yuan power vortex with lightning speed. After that happened, everyone could see several massive explosions erupting within the vortex. Chen Zhen's gaze turned solemn as he stared at the grey light beam that was rampaging across the vortex. At this moment, he raised both of his hands gently and directly patted the vortex, causing it to scatter. Following the scattering of the vortex, the grey light beam within also disappeared along with it. After Chen Zhen settled the grey light beam, Jiang Hao had already landed on the ground. He raised his head with a faint palpitation still remaining on his face. At this moment, the entire mountain peak was eerily silent. One gaze after another suddenly landed on the body of Chen Zhen, before all of them secretly gulped. Being disciples of the Desolate Gate, they were naturally aware that when disciples spared, the Hall Masters would not typically intervene. In fact, they would only interfere if there were incidents that were spinning out of control. Pang Tong and the other two looked at this scene with some palpitations in their hearts. Lin Dong, is that the Desolate Demon Eye? Asked Chen Zhen in a relaxed tone, while hovering in mid-air. He was looking at Lin Dong below, with a complex expression within his eyes. As this question appeared, a sucking sound resounded from everywhere within the stadium. In fact, for Pang Tong, Jiang Hao and the other two, a rich astonishment expression appeared within their eyes. Amongst the desolate hall martial arts, the Great Desolation Mysterious Scripture was naturally the most powerful one. Below the Great Desolation Mysterious Scripture was the so-called Four Great Martial Arts. Amongst them, the Desolate Demon Eye was the hardest to master. Within these few years, although it cannot be said that no one had managed to master the Desolate Demon Eye, most of them were the Desolate Hall's older generation members. Amongst the disciples, however, there was no one who had successfully done it. However, right before their eyes, Lin Dong had actually managed to learn the Desolate Demon Eye, which was widely considered to be the most lethal martial art in Desolate Hall. How could this not make the audience feel shocked? Furthermore, they were clearly aware that Lin Dong had merely entered the martial arts hall for 5 days. However, in these 5 days, he actually managed to gain an initial mastery over the Desolate Demon Eye. Is this fellow even human? Thought Pang Tong and other three as they shot a look at each other. All of them had complex feelings. Even though they were all highly talented, if they were to be compared to that fellow Lin Dong, they seemed rather ordinary. Of course, the four of them naturally did not know that the reason why Lin Dong was able to do so was not only because of his talent, but also because of the mysterious stone talisman. Although the Desolate Demon Eye was overbearing and evil and ordinary individuals would find it exceedingly difficult to fully control it, Lin Dong possessed the mysterious stone talisman. Therefore, he was able to fully restrain and control it. Every pair of eyes in the entire stadium congealed on Lin Dong's body. At this moment, the grey eye at Lin Dong's forehead began to close before turning into a grey line and disappearing. After the grey eye disappeared, a pale expression appeared on Lin Dong's face. The lethality, yuan power and mental energy consumption of the Desolate Demon Eye had completely exceeded his expectations. If Chen Zhen did not intervene, the previous attack would have likely left serious injuries on Jiang Hao. This situation was something that he obviously did not want to see. After all, this is the Desolate Hall and not the ancient battlefield. Therefore, he could no longer be as aggressive as before. Yes, Hall Master, the martial art that I have just used is indeed the Desolate Demon Eye. Lin Dong bowed at Chen Zhen, before saying in a bitter voice, due to the fact that I only have an initial mastery over it, I can't control it well. I see, Chen Zhen subconsciously muttered before turning silent for a while. It was as if he was trying to quell the shock within his heart. After seeing Chen Zhen fall silent, Lin Dong did not speak anymore. He knew that Chen Zhen and the rest must be shocked that he was able to learn the Desolate Demon Eye. On the stone chair, Wu Dao secretly laughed bitterly in his heart. However, joy promptly surged into his heart. The more talented Lin Dong was, the better it was for their Desolate Hall. After all, it has been many years since their Desolate Hall had produced such an outstanding disciple. The path that the Desolate Demon Eye walks on is the pursuit of greater killing power. In the future, if you are unable to completely control it, try to refrain from using it when sparring with other disciples. Besides, this martial art will have a corrosive effect on the person using it. Unless it is a critical juncture, it's best not to use it recklessly, said Chen Zhen in a serious tone after regaining his clarity. Yes, disciple understands. Lin Dong respectfully nodded his head. He did not expose the existence of the mysterious stone talisman. In fact, he did not have to worry about the corrosive effect of the desolate demon eye because of it. Nonetheless, the mysterious stone talisman was his greatest secret. As such, due to his cautious disposition, he was naturally unwilling to expose its existence even though he knew Chen Zhen and the rest did not have any malicious intentions towards him. For today's spar, the victor and loser have been decided. From today onwards, you will be the 5th senior direct disciple of the Desolate Hall. Is there anyone else who objects? Chen Zhen turned towards Pang Tong and the rest and asked. After hearing his words, Pang Tang and the other 3 hesitated for a while before shaking their heads. This time around, even Jiang Hao could only laugh bitterly. The power that Lin Dong had displayed left him with no grounds to object. Roar! After Pang Tong and the other 3 indicated that they did not object, the entire stadium immediately erupted into a spectacular sea of cheering sounds and voices. Over tens of thousands of Desolate Hall disciples stared fervently at the thin figure standing in the middle of the stadium. A trace of respect appeared on all of their faces. After today's match, Lin Dong had thoroughly conquered all the disciples in Desolate Hall. From today onwards, he would also become the fastest disciple in the history of the Desolate Hall to become a senior direct disciple. The Desolate Hall had an additional senior direct disciple after the end of the battle between Lin Dong and Jiang Hao. It was likely that this matter would stir quite a great commotion within the Dao sect should it be spread. After all, there was not a single disciple during these years who successfully became a senior direct disciple of any hall, after having just joined for less than a month. Chen Zhen waved his sleeves after announcing that Lin Dong was the 5th senior direct disciple of the Desolate Hall. Immediately, everyone saw the ground beside the 4 stone platforms rising. A majestic yuan power directly created a new stone platform that was of the same height as the 4 others. That spot would be Lin Dong's individual seat during the future monthly competitions. This was a symbol of status. With regards to that, Lin Dong also acted unceremoniously as his body moved and he rushed onto the platform. Ha ha, junior brother Lin Dong, congratulations. Pang Tong's sincere face also had a smile on it at this moment, as he spoke to Lin Dong. Fang Yun, Song Ju and the other senior direct disciples also nodded their heads at Lin Dong. If they had previously looked down on Lin Dong because of their seniority, this mentality had been completely replaced. Lin Dong had displayed a shocking fighting strength during the previous battle, and even they did not dare to underestimate him. I hope that the 4 seniors will take good care of me in the future. Lin Dong was not stingy with his friendliness in the face of their smiles. It was likely that he would train within the Desolate Hall for a long time in future. Hence, he naturally did not want to have a terrible relationship with his seniors. After experiencing the various games during the 100 Empire War, he quite enjoyed the atmosphere within the Desolate Hall. After all, no one in this world likes to be constantly fighting with others. Pang Tong and the 3 others smiled and nodded when they saw the friendly smile on Lin Dong's face. They involuntarily sighed within their hearts. Lin Dong's actions finally allowed them to understand the boldness and resolution that was buried within his bones. They had also heard about the cruelty of the 100 Empire War. In order for Lin Dong to clear a path one step at a time with his low-rank empire background, the amount of effort he had to put in would likely cause them to feel ashamed, should it be described in detail. This junior has extraordinary potential. No wonder teacher Uncle Chen Zhen and Wu Dao have such high expectations of him. The 4 of them looked at each other and saw the mutual thought within their minds. After greeting Pang Tong's group, Lin Dong finally sat down on his own stone platform and raised his head. The height of the stone platform allowed him to overlook the entire mountaintop. There was a black mass of people when he looked down. Tens of thousands of desolate hall disciples sat quietly in this place. Their expressions when they looked at him were filled with rich respect. Chen Zhen once again returned to his stone seat. Next, he waved his sleeve and announced the start of the monthly competition. However, those subsequent matches were naturally not as fearsome as the one between Lin Dong and Jiang Hao. However, due to the large number of people present, the scene was also quite magnificent. Branch disciples were the most numerous amongst the desolate hall disciples. These branch disciples were all constantly hoping to become full-fledged desolate hall disciples. This was because only by becoming a true desolate hall disciple would they possess the qualification to enter the desolate hall mountains and train. Moreover, they would also gain the qualifications to learn the deep and profound martial arts in desolate hall. Therefore, there will always be quite a number of branch disciples going all out during the monthly competition, in an attempt to unleash 120% of their own strength, hoping that they will be promoted to become a full-fledged disciple. The Desolate Hall monthly competition continued for an entire day. Its final result caused the Chen Zhen duo to feel quite satisfied. Amongst the tens of thousands of branch disciples, there were over 100 disciples with outstanding performances, who possessed the qualification to be promoted to a full-fledged disciple. At the same time, this increased the overall strength of their desolate hall. As moonlight gradually encompassed the desolate hall mountains, the mountain top, which had been lively for an entire day, finally began to gradually quieten down. As large groups of disciples began to leave, the sound of rushing wind continued to buzz over the mountaintop. Lin Dong also stood up from his own stone platform. He stretched his lazy waist and was just about to leave with Mo Ling's group, when Wu Dao suddenly appeared beside him. "Little fellow, you have performed quite well today." Wu Dao smilingly stared at Lin Dong and laughed. "Hey, teacher Uncle Wu Dao has overpraised me. It was by chance that I satisfied the criteria for practicing the desolate demon eye. Moreover, I have yet to completely master it, and have merely gained an initial mastery." Lin Dong smilingly said. Although Wu Dao was the deputy hall chief of Desolate Hall, and he had an extremely high status, Lin Dong did not act in an overly restrained manner in front of him. "You little fellow." Wu Dao smiled and shook his head. He mused a little and said, "Currently, you are a senior direct disciple of the Desolate Hall. You should train properly from now onwards. The Great Desolate Tablet will be opened 3 months later. Whether you will be able to comprehend it will depend on your own fate." 3 months later. Lin Dong was stunned initially. Promptly, a fiery hot expression surged out from within his eyes. He clearly understood that even though he was now a legendary figure in Desolate Hall, it was merely the case within the Desolate Hall. The Dao sect was huge and the number of prodigies in the 3 other halls were as numerous as the stars. If he wanted to stand out amongst all 4 halls, he must successfully comprehend the Great Desolation Scripture. Otherwise, he would definitely end up being at a disadvantage when he faced those top disciples from the 3 other halls, who have comprehended the 3 other great mysterious scriptures. However, it was also because of his fame that many disciples in the Desolate Hall were anxiously awaiting the day the Great Desolate Tablet opened. If Lin Dong was truly able to comprehend the Great Desolation Scripture, his reputation would exceed that of the 4 senior direct disciples. In fact, he will even be able to rival the top disciples from the 3 other halls. Of course, if he failed, it was likely that he would wound up attracting some nasty gossips. His earlier performances were simply too dazzling, and he can even be comparable to that fellow, who possessed an extremely high position in the hearts of the Dao sect's disciples. Hence, if he failed to comprehend the Great Desolation Scripture, it would likely cause quite a number of Desolate Hall disciples to be secretly disappointed. Compared to understanding the Great Desolate Scripture, all those previous results were hardly worth mentioning. Lin Dong looked at Wu Dao's earnest eyes, before he curled his mouth slightly. For some unknown reason, it seemed like quite a lot of expectations had been placed on his shoulders. "I will do my best," Lin Dong softly replied. "Soon after the Great Desolate Tablet opens will be the hall test. The result that our desolate hall will achieve would likely depend on the 5 of you," Wu Dao smilingly said. "How is the strength of that big senior sister Ying Xiaoxiao from the Sky Hall like?" Lin Dong blinked and suddenly asked. "Xiaoxiao, a lady with extremely great talent. Currently, she should be attempting to break through the 9th Nirvana tribulation." Wu Dao smacked his mouth. It was likely that even he coveted Ying Xiaoxiao's talent. Attempting the 9th Nirvana tribulation, Lin Dong's heart was slightly shaken. She is indeed worthy of being the big senior sister of the Sky Hall. Her strength was likely comparable to Ling Qingzhu. "I heard from your friend Lin Jiao that you have a complicated relationship with Ling Qingzhu from 9 Heaven's Supreme Purity Palace." Standing in front of Lin Dong, Wu Dao suddenly said, while Lin Dong was still shocked by the strength of big senior sister Ying Xiaoxiao. Lin Dong was startled. He raised his head and looked at Wu Dao's somewhat complicated expression. Immediately, he felt his face turn red. He let out a dry laughter, but was uncertain about how he should reply. Could he really tell Wu Dao that he had once taken possession of that lady's body? If word of this was to spread, it was likely that there would be a countless number of people charging to Dao sect and causing trouble for him within a couple of days. TSK, little fellow, your eyesight is quite good. Ling Qingzhu is a renowned person amongst the younger generation in the eastern Xian region. Even Xiaoxiao, that lass, is overshadowed by her. There are a countless number of young geniuses from various super sects chasing after her during these years in an attempt to win the heart of the beauty. However, no one has succeeded. Wu Dao patted Lin Dong's shoulders. His smile appeared a little wretched under the moonlight. "Your target is really challenging. Good luck. I have confidence in you. If you can capture Ling Qingzhu, I believe that the expressions of those from the 9 Heavens Supreme Purity Palace will be extremely interesting." Lin Dong smiled in an embarrassed manner. Wu Dao really thought too highly of him. The former clearly understood the gap between him and Ling Qingzhu. Even after several years of bitter training, there was still quite a big gap between him and her. However, the current gap was already one that could be seen, and it was no longer as ethereal and invisible like back then. His effort during these years was not for naught. The current him was also no longer the same tender youth who could only look up to her. Lin Dong inhaled a deep breath of cool air. He turned his head and his eyes looked into the distance. Moonlight shone on his face, outlining a tough figure. He had already endured through the toughest time. Currently, there was no reason to give up. "Ling Qingzhu, I really look forward to our next encounter." After the conclusion of the monthly competition, the desolate hall turned peaceful once again. However, there were now a few more good discussion topics that appeared secretly in the discussions between the disciples. These topics naturally did not stray away from the soul-stirring fight between Lin Dong and Jiang Hao that day. News that Lin Dong managed to successfully learn the desolate demon eye had also circulated around rapidly. This inevitably caused repeated shock to people who heard it, while quite a few desolate hall disciples smacked their lips in envy of Lin Dong's talent. After the intense fight with Jiang Hao during the monthly competition, Lin Dong had managed to thoroughly secure his footing within the desolate hall. Becoming the 5th senior direct disciple caused his status within the desolate hall to soar. Every day when he met disciples from desolate hall, they would show a face of respect and bow towards him and address him as a senior brother. This was even true for disciples who were older and more experienced than him. Although Lin Dong felt nonchalant about this kind of special treatment, it was great news for Mo Ling and the rest of the disciples, who followed Lin Dong and joined Desolate Hall. Although it was peaceful in the Desolate Hall, disputes and division into cliques were unavoidable. As new disciples, their position was considered to be the lowest as they did not have anyone to rely on. Typically, their training facilities will also be inferior compared to those veteran disciples. However, following Lin Dong's meteoric promotion to senior direct disciple, these new disciples had a backer to rely on. Hence, thanks to Lin Dong's reputation, those veteran disciples would no longer dare to intentionally create trouble for them. As such, from that day onwards, Mo Ling and the rest of them faced significantly less troubles. Furthermore, unknown to Lin Dong, there were quite a few disciples that were quietly following him. Gradually, this indicated the formation of a new clique with him as their leader. Naturally, Lin Dong did not care much about this matter, and would only smile when he occasionally discovered it. He had no intention of forming a clique. However, Mo Ling and the rest of them are his friends and they all came from Great Yang Empire. Hence, if they were to run into problems, he would naturally not stand by idly. After Lin Dong's officially promotion to senior direct disciple, the current him was now formally considered as a core disciple of the Desolate Hall. As such, Lin Dong could finally enjoy the life of being a disciple in the Desolate Hall. In the subsequent month after the monthly competition, a large majority of Lin Dong's time was spent within the martial arts hall. Of course, he was not delusional enough to attempt to master the 3 other great martial arts. Hence, every time he entered the martial arts hall, he would sit in front of the desolate stone to absorb the desolate energy for his desolate arts. Other than that, he would spend the rest of his time before the desolate demon eye martial art tablet. The perverted lethality of the desolate demon eye was experienced firsthand by Lin Dong after his fight with Jiang Hao. This martial art was truly fearsome, and Lin Dong only had an initial mastery over it and could barely control it. Therefore, during this 1 month's time, he spent all his time shuttling in and out of the mental space within the stone tablet. Inside there, he continuously received the dreadful attack from Huang. This training method was slightly masochistic. However, since Lin Dong had the mysterious stone talisman, he was not afraid of the fiendish corrosive strength. Thanks to this masochistic training, Lin Dong could sense that his control over the desolate demon eye was becoming increasingly proficient after a month's training. This fact brought joy to his heart. Furthermore, due to the long period of time spent within the martial arts hall, he had gotten rather close with the blind old man. This person, who appeared to be an eccentric blind old man, was rather cordial with Lin Dong. This was especially true after he learnt that Lin Dong had successfully learnt the desolate demon eye. Their relationship grew even stronger, and the warmth that he showed Lin Dong was something denied to Chen Jun and Wu Dao. Between their interactions, Lin Dong found out the name of the blind old man, Jiu Mo. At the beginning, when Lin Dong first saw him, he was eccentric and distant. However, his status gave Lin Dong quite a shock, as he was actually an elder of the Dao sect. His status was even higher than Chen Jun and Wu Dao by a level. Furthermore, what truly shocked him was that even though Elder Jiu Mo failed initially when he tried to learn the desolate demon eye and even lost his sight, thanks to his stubborn nature and determination, he was able to forcefully master it in the end. This caused Lin Dong to be secretly in awe, because only the individuals who have tried to learn the desolate demon eye would understand how potent the corrosive power of the fiendish qi was. Nonetheless, Elder Jiu Mo actually refused to give up even after losing his sight, and forcefully managed to master it in the end. Of course, it maybe have been because he had nothing else to lose. Since he had already turned blind, there was nothing else for that fiendish qi to corrode. Subsequently, Elder Jiu Mo chose to give up his yuan power cultivation, and decided to focus on his mental energy cultivation. Once his mental energy was unleashed, the world that he saw was clearer than the world he previously saw with his fleshly eyes. In Lin Dong's opinion, the reason why Elder Ji Mo saw eye to eye with him was likely because he had also trained in the desolate demon eye. And this was how Lin Dong spent 1 month's time, in peace and tranquility. Within this month, Lin Dong gradually integrated himself into this foreign yet familiar desolate hall. After thinking for a while, Lin Dong felt like this might turn into another home for him. At the very least, even a cautious and prudent person like him did not feel put off by this place. His life within the desolate hall was unlike the ancient battlefield, where he had to be constantly on the tenterhooks and be ready for a life or death fight with an opponent at any time. However, thanks to this unique peaceful environment, it caused Lin Dong's state of mind to become increasingly mild and peaceful. Meanwhile, the viciousness and antisocial behavior that was drilled into his bones in the ancient battlefield was slowly being withdrawn. Huff. A meager form sat cross-legged quietly before the black-colored stone tablet. After a long time, the black-colored eye on the surface of the stone tablet suddenly blinked once. Wave after wave of mysterious fluctuations started being emitted. In the end, most of them shot directly into the gray line present on the forehead of the figure. The gray line gradually dissipated, before Lin Dong's eyes gradually opened. A mysterious gray flash flickered across his eyes before a smile appeared on his face. "Looks like you have made good training progress on the desolate demon eye." A hoarse voice rang out from behind Lin Dong. He turned around and gave a smile toward the blind old man, who was holding onto a broom before he said, "This is all thanks to the guidance from Senior Uncle Ji Mo." If they were going by status, Lin Dong had to address Ji Mo as elder. However, due to the latter's eccentricness, he scolded Lin Dong when he first addressed him as elder and made him change it to senior uncle. As Lin Dong was not a person to be constrained by mannerism, he felt that calling him senior uncle will help bring them closer. "If you are not talented, any advice that I give will be of no use." "You brat, you are getting more and more greedy," replied the blind old man, while a smile appeared on his fully wrinkled face. He proceeded to say, "You should go. Wu Dao is waiting for you outside the martial arts hall. It seems like he has a task for you." "Yes." Lin Dong was startled for a short while before he smiled and nodded his head. Without saying anything else, he bowed and saluted to Ji Mo before swaggering out. Walking out of the martial arts hall, Lin Dong was not surprised to see Wu Dao, with his hands behind his back. During this 1 month, Lin Dong had rarely met up with him. Thinking about it, it seemed like there are quite a few internal matters within the sect. Being the vice head of the desolate hall, it was natural that Wu Dao would be much busier than someone like him, who was merely concerned with training. "You sure know how to network. It hasn't been a few months, yet you actually managed to win over senior brother Ji Mo. At this present moment, even I can't disturb you during your training." When Wu Dao saw Lin Dong walked out of the hall, he involuntarily chuckled before he chided him. Hearing this, Lin Dong smiled. Never would he have imagined that senior uncle Ji Mo was actually so suave. He actually forced Wu Dao to wait outside the martial arts hall. "What is going on, senior uncle Wu Dao?" asked Lin Dong while he blinked and grinned. "Yes, this time you will have to make a trip out of the sect. There are missions that the higher-ups want you disciples to complete. You can treat it as a training trip. Since you are new, you won't be assigned with major responsibilities. After all, there will be other hall disciples. Just learn to adapt to it," said Wu Dao with a smile. Going out of the sect. Lin Dong gawked for a moment before nodding his head. He knew that for these super sects, there is a high possibility that they would assign missions for their disciples in order to train them. From the looks of it now, it seems like he would be taking part in one now. "Follow me. I take you to meet your buddies who would be traveling together with you," said Wu Dao, who shot a smile towards Lin Dong, before proceeding to turn around and walk off. Lin Dong looked at Wu Dao's back in doubt. The smile present on that old fellow's face was slightly odd and strange. However, he did not ponder on this issue. With a twist of his body, he quickly chased up to Wu Dao. The two of them dashed past all the groups of mountains within the desolate hall before descending on a gigantic platform towards the north. After descending, Lin Dong took a quick glance around, before his facial expression turned into one of doubt. At this moment, on the platform, a young girl at the prime of her youth, dressed in a white blouse and a green skirt, was staring lazily at him. Within those bright and beautiful big eyes were a peculiar elf-like sadism and a deeply hidden feeling of intrigue. This young lady was precisely the one who called Lin Dong a shameless braggart, proud and aloof when he first entered Dao sect, Ying Huan Huan. This video will end here.